everyone, welcome back to the Motley Verse. I'm your girl, my name is Nonye, and it's a pleasure and a privilege to have you here with me again. Today we are going to be talking about Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. This is a winner of the Nobel Prize in Economics. I'm not quite sure the year he won it, but he won it because of part of the work that he writes about in this book. Without further ado, let us start the show. This book is essentially about how our mind works, but in particular, him and his friend, his late friend, who he really worked a lot with about the information and the things that he talks about in this book. And that friend would have probably won the Nobel Prize with him if he was alive, but unfortunately he died before he was awarded the prize. But him and his friend are really curious and interested about how people make decisions. So it's a book about, it's a lot about behavioral economics, which I'm finding that I'm actually very interested in. I don't know why, but I gravitate a lot towards a book about behavioral economics. Actually, the book I'm reading now, which I'll be talking to you guys about later on, is also about behavioral economics, which makes me think that I need to try to, it seems like I'm reading books that are kind of all in the same realm. Let me know the books that you're reading out there, because I kind of want to come out of this bubble. I don't want to stay in the same pool of ideas. Anyway, back to this book. He's interested in how people think, how people approach situations, and then how they make their decisions. He first of all starts off the book by telling us about how our mind works. There are two systems. He calls it System 1 and System 2. System 1 is the system that is kind of always running, that is in charge of just making sense of reality and keeping us out of trouble. It's very fast. It quickly processes information to find out if something is wrong, if something is amiss, and it reacts accordingly. So it's very fast, it's efficient, but it's prone to mistakes. It's not very good at, it quickly jumps to conclusion, essentially. But System 2 is your slower but lazy part of your brain that takes its time to do an analysis, but it's lazy. It doesn't always want to be called upon. It just kind of want to be just left alone, But if I ask you 1 + 1, you could probably say 2 without much thought. If you have to drive from your workplace to your home, you could do that without much thought, actually, while thinking about something else entirely, and not realize when you make it to your house. Shout out to my friend Crystal. She posted a meme not too long ago of that. This is your System 1 working. System 2 is if I ask you to do 436 times 27. You can't do that off the cuff or off the top of your head. You need your System 2, which is lazy, doesn't really want to come around and do all that math, but that's the one that's going to do it for you. So that's how he first of all breaks things down. And so he goes through the book trying to tell us how, because of the way these systems are, System 2, who thinks well, or who is a lot more analytical and less prone to mistakes, but it's lazy. It leaves a lot of decisions to System 1. System 1 is, he's with it. She's with it. She's ready to go, but she makes a lot of mistakes. And so that's the purpose of this book, is to call to our attention, make us aware of how our minds works, know when you are prone to making mistakes, or know when you are being influenced or primed to do something, and just make you more aware. And one of the notes that I wrote to myself, you guys know, like when I'm reading, I like to keep, I don't have my notebook, but I usually write notes about what I'm reading and then notes to myself. And one thing I wrote, which stood out to me, is, I don't know if this is from the book or if this is me, but I wrote, if you can afford it, take time to think more. Message to myself. So I noticed that while I was reading this book, I was actually less prone to the errors that I would normally make, because I was just a little bit more attentive while I was reading the book and just outside of it. I called on my System 2. I said, girl, no, get up and pay attention. So I found that I was actually more vigilant than otherwise, Another thing about System 1 is that System 1 is it's associated when you encounter certain things that are hard. Let's say you're learning a new language, what is taking a lot of effort, it's your system 2. But as your system 2 as you get very good at something and your skills build up, let's say you're learning a new language, let's say if you're learning how to speak, I don't know, French. When you're just learning the grammar and the words and the vocabulary, it's your system 2 at work. But as you get good at it and as you practice more, it starts to move to system 1, where it doesn't require that much of your attention and it's a little bit more automatic. So that's one of the things. So sometimes I tell myself, okay, I need to move this from system 2 to system 1. So I need to, I don't know, when I encounter a new challenge at work, I'm like, okay, this is still a system 2 thing, and I really needed to get to system 1. So let's do a little fun thing. I like it when I'm reading a book and I see applications of it in real life. There's something that he talks about in this book where he talks about the fourfold pattern. The fourfold pattern, it's 4 blocks essentially, and depending on where you fall in this block, it kind of predicts how you're going to act. Again, this is saying how certain things are, human beings, we don't always make the best decisions because of the way our system 1 and system 2 works. If we were completely rational, we would make better decisions, but we're not. Sometimes we do irrational things. And again, he's trying to bridge that gap of why we do certain irrational things. So in this fourfold pattern, I'm going to spend my time talking to you about 2 blocks of it and how I saw it play out in real life. And it's about the Cardi B versus Tasha K lawsuit. You probably know who Cardi B is. She's a famous rapper, but you may or may not know who Tasha K is. Tasha K is a famous YouTuber. If you're not really in this YouTube streets, you may not know Tasha K, but Tasha K is a YouTuber who has worked hard, grinded hard, and made her way to the top. I mean, she has broken many stories. If you guys know when Wendy Williams, this is about to become very hot topicy. When Wendy Williams's husband had the baby with his then mistress, Tasha K was the first person who actually kind of broke that story. The rumors were circling around, but Tasha is the one who called the hospital where the woman was who gave birth and essentially confirmed the story. So I tell you that to tell you that Tasha has actually gained her stamp of approval in this YouTube street. She has gained her notoriety. A lot of people use her names for clickbait. I may or may not be doing that right now. I don't think I am, but anyway. So Cardi sues Tasha K for defamation because of some of the videos that Tasha was making about Cardi at the time. Cardi says, "I need you to take it down." Tasha says no, and Cardi says, "I'm going to sue you." And at the time, people felt that Cardi had a strong case against Tasha, and she offered to Tasha to settle out of court for settlement. Tasha refused. They went to court. They went ahead and went to trial, and Tasha lost. And now Tasha owes Cardi about $4 million. $4 million is a lot of money. I don't care if you're Jeff Bezos, $4 million is $4 million. That's a lot of money. And Tasha is not, I'm not counting her money or counting her coins, but $4 million it will hurt Tasha. And she had the option of settling for much less. It probably was going to cost her, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of dollars, but it wouldn't be $4 million. And she refused. And a lot of people did a lot of reaction videos blaming Tasha at the time, that her pride and her ego and all this, and Tasha did this, Tasha did that, and saying that Cardi was even so nice to offer to settle, but Tasha's ego wouldn't let her. And if you read this book, bringing it back to this book, you find out that how they acted could actually have been predicted and has actually played out multiple times in different courtrooms in different other cases. And that brings us back to that fourfold pattern where Cardi B occupies one space of that fourfold pattern and Tasha K occupies another space, and they have a classic case of a strong plaintiff versus a weak defendant. Again, I'm just trying to tell you how something that is happening in real life ties in with a book that I'm reading, and I love it when I can see that correlation between something I'm learning and how it's happening in real life. So what happened is that when we have a sure case of winning something, for example, a strong plaintiff, the small chance of actually losing is exaggerated in our mind. And not only is it exaggerated, it is repugnant. We actually don't want to lose that. That small chance of losing really, really bothers us. And it makes us prone to settle. We're willing to take less money than we would if we go all the way and go actually to court and win the entire case where we get a large sum of money. We would be willing to give up some of that to get you to settle out of court with us because we don't want to lose. And that small chance of losing is exaggerated. And this is when you have a strong case of winning, which is what Cardi B had. She had a strong case of winning, or a strong chance of winning. And that small chance of losing to Tasha K bothered her so much that she was willing, okay, I have to say allegedly, into everything I'm saying, allegedly, okay? And so that small chance of losing bothered her so much that she offered to settle. Tasha, on the other hand, was on the other side of the coin, who was the weak defendant, who was probably going to lose. When we are in a losing position, we become risk-seeking, which means we are much more willing to gamble. So she was facing, if she went ahead and settled, she was going to lose a huge sum of money. So she was already in a losing position, which put her in a risk-taking or risk-seeking position where she was willing to gamble and go to court and probably lose more. But that slight chance of winning and getting away with not paying her anything is exaggerated in our minds. And it was probably exaggerated in Tasha K's mind. And that's why she wanted to take her chances. And she went ahead and lost. And that's what played out. So it may not be anything special about Cardi. It may not be anything special about Tasha that things played out like this. According to this book and the people who study behavioral economics, this is something that happens quite often. And according to this book, what should have happened is Tasha should have settled before they went to trial, because at that point, she had the higher leverage. Cardi was much more willing to give up some money and settle and get her sure win, and would have been willing to negotiate for a lesser amount of money, much lesser than the $4 million obviously that she's paying now. So at that point, Tasha actually had a lot of leverage, and she could have, negotiated to pay her a lot less. But a lot of other things come into play when you're dealing with actual human beings. The amount of money that she's sure to lose obviously was bothering Tasha K. And then there are other things, ego, pride, brand, all that stuff, So I thought that was interesting that I either was reading this book as that case was finalized, or it happened soon after that. So so this was a good book. This is something that I plan to read, go back to time and again to refresh my memory, and I recommend it. I really recommend it. It will help you in whatever field you find yourself in. It's going to help you recognize the patterns that you unknowingly fall into that might make you make certain errors, be it in business, be it at home, whatever, and it's going to help you be a little bit more attentive. It's going to help you wake up your system 2 and slow down your system 1 and make the two systems work, have a kind of a synergistic working or a synergistic collaboration, which is what it should be like. And that's what it would be, I think, if you're just much more aware of how things work. As they say, when you know better, you do better. So being aware is going to help you do better. That is it for this episode. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what you think about this book if you have actually read it. If you are interested in reading it, let me know. Whatever the book you're reading, let me know. Like I said, I want to try other idea pools. And until next time, I look forward to it, and have a good one. Adios. Adios is in my system 1 and not in my system 2.